There are many things that you can do, and the general recommendations there center around lifestyle factors, physical exercise, nutrition, and then also cognitive exercise. Those have been identified as all individually contributing to prolonged health and more successful aging. And then you can go into detail to say what exactly should you be doing, what are the factors for nutrition, green tea, herbs, spices, right? Currently there's debate about the nitrates in meat that might increase the risk for dementia. Right, so there you would then also would have to look more closely to see what exactly it is. But the bottom line here is that it's multifactorial, and there are many that will contribute to that. Well, there's certainly a genetic contribution. Some genes have been identified, like the presenilin 1 and 2, that if you have those, then you probably will develop Alzheimer much earlier than anybody else. So their typical onset is after 65 years of age. If you have those mutations, then you have to count on developing Alzheimer after the age of 50. And a book that I came across recently that I think illustrates an individual story very dramatically and heartbreaking is Still Alice. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. And a researcher at a university who has this gene and then at the age of 51 starts to develop Alzheimer's disease. And the book kind of, although it's fictional, you really feel like you're accompanying this person developing the disease. No. So the telomeres are definite in length, and of course that would be kind of like the fountain of youth if you would find a factor that would allow you to grow them. Now there is this maintenance system, and that seems to be preventing additional cutting. And this is where stress comes in, because stress seems to accelerate the cutting off of the telomeres, which is what you don't want. And if it happens in specific areas in the brain, then those would be now prone to accelerated aging. So you cannot stop the aging, right? But by doing as much as you can to keep the and there are many different factors. For men, the recommendation would be stay married, and for women, it seems like we would have to recommend the opposite, right? Which is then somewhat incompatible. But there's actually studies that support this. So men's life expectancy increases when they remain married, whereas women's life expectancy decreases when they remain married. So there's that is documented, yeah. And I'm not sure how wise it is for me to make this statement.
That's funny.
In a room full of women, yes. Anyway, but there are, of course, many other things that you can do to combat stress. Funnily, the stressor that we use in the lab that has been shown to be the most consistent in producing a strong cortisol reactivity is having to give a public speech, right? So I have probably chosen the wrong profession, you would argue, because I am doing this for a living. At the same time, there is a process called habituation, which shows that if you do the same task repeatedly, you actually stop responding to it, and then it's no longer perceived to be a threat by your system. And I think this is something where we can derive one recommendation from, right? So by preparing yourself well, by practicing whatever demands life throws at you, you will probably be less stressed. And by trying to give yourself times of recovery and regeneration, you will also be able to avoid the damaging effects of stress. Because the immediate short-term stress response, everybody, I think, in the field agrees that this is not what causes the chronic illness. It's actually necessary. You wouldn't want to be in a situation where you no longer have a stress response. There's a disease, morbus Addison, which is an endocrinological disorder where you cannot have any cortisol released from your body. And if that is untreated, you can die from it. So cortisol is an essential part of your system, and you need it in order to function well. What you don't want is the chronic release of it, because that's when cortisol prevents the maintenance and the regeneration in your body to occur, because it will put the priority on mobilizing energy and puts your body in this alarm state where you give yourself more energy at the cost of recovery to keep functioning. So if you have long periods of stress, this is where researchers believe that the damaging effects come in. So this is what you would want to avoid. Take holidays.
Yoga, go shopping, right? Go
Yeah.
shopping. Whatever reduces the stress.
Whatever does the trick, right? Yes. So there's many different factors, and there's no one recommendation that you could make. Depends on the individual and their preferred lifestyle. Meditation is certainly one that is in the literature that is suggested to help. Physical exercise is one that is just get your mind blank from the demands that are thrown at you at work or in the family, which many of these activities will serve to do. Shopping probably does the same, right? You also get kind of in a different mindset and can clear your mind for a bit, and that would also perhaps allow your system to reset and allow you to enter regeneration and repair. And that's really the critical thing to have. Right. So when it comes to dementia, or Alzheimer's, which is the highest prevalence of the different dementias, unfortunately, there is no intervention that really helps. There is no cure for Alzheimer's disease.
There's nothing that can slow it down, slow its progression.
So the only thing you can do is to slow it down is by giving boosters for certain neurotransmitters that are associated with cognitive function, the cholinesterase inhibitors, which basically artificially increase the level of the acetylcholine, one of the neurotransmitters associated with cognitive function. But it doesn't really change the rate of decline. So what happens is that you boost your level artificially. So yes, you see an increase in cognitive functioning, but the rate of decline is the same as if you didn't take it, but now it happens at a higher level. So you do see a temporary increase, and it will help you for probably a number of years, where at first you will see an improvement, and then you will see a decline, but still better than where you used to be. But eventually you will have caught up with your original slope and then continue to decline after. The many fascinating aspects about aging, one is that we still don't know what actually causes Alzheimer's disease. We know what the symptom looks like, or the disease looks like in the brain. You have these plaques and tangles, these accumulation of proteins between the cells, and then the accumulation of debris inside the cell that seems to block their functioning, and then over time leads to the atrophy. But why that is, right? Everybody's guess. If we knew, we would of course be much closer to actually preventing it from occurring in the first place. And there are many interesting theories, but none of them has been proven. One of my favorite is the herpes simplex virus, that by the time that you're 70, over 70% of the population is affected by it. And once you are affected by it, it can never go away. So it will lie dormant in your neurons in the brain, especially in the axons of each neuron, and is discussed as perhaps one factor that puts an additional strain on each cell that can lead to this accumulation of proteins inside the cell. And if you look at the prevalence of the disease and the increase of the population that is affected by it, and you add 20 years that the disease takes to really take hold in the organism, you see actually a good match between the rates of Alzheimer's disease and the rate of infection with the herpes simplex virus in the population 20 years before, suggesting that this might at least be a significant factor that also contributes to the onset of the disease.